Hello and welcome. Welcome everybody to Shape the World. My name is Yemi Babington-Ashaye. I am your host. And happy World Humanitarian Day, everybody. Today we have a beautiful conversation with a wonderful humanitarian from Brazil. And I can't think of a better thing to do today, actually. So thank you for joining us. Her name is Patricia Villela Marino. She's co-founder and president of an organization called Humanitas 360. But more importantly, she's a humanitarian. So let's get to spend some time with Patricia. Patricia, if you can please say hello and tell us where you are and how you're doing.
Hi, everyone. I'm doing okay, considering the circumstances. Me and my family, we are very safe and we are healthy, but very sad indeed, because just yesterday, we've got again another 1,500 people dead in my country. So with that, have heart, but very hopeful mind, I come to talk to you this morning. It's great to see you again, Yemi.
Thank you so much, Patricia. And that just reminds me, there's an old wisdom that's really challenged to ask a philosopher or indeed a humanitarian how they are. Because even if they're really happy, they're reflecting on what's going on around the world. And so thank you for the frank answer, Patricia. And that also reminds me that the Shape the World audience is full of philosophers. So I want to say thank you, because each of you take some time out of your schedule to be here. And so thank you for that. I know everybody is busy and we're in the middle of a pandemic, so nobody's really having a great time, but you're here. So we like to do shout outs. I can see some old timers. You know how it works. So please put your comments in the chat. Things like where you're connecting from. So if you can please put in the chat where you're dialing in from. Are you in London? Are you in Boston? Are you in Sao Paulo? Are you in Lagos? Put that in the chat. But you know how this works. We need your questions to drive us. So questions in the Q&A button in the middle of your screen. Who's going to get the first question, please? All right, so questions in the Q&A. We need your questions, please. All right, so Patricia, you can talk about so much, and that's why I think it's wonderful to speak with you. And everybody, if you're thinking about what to ask about, you can ask about anything related to global issues, local issues. Patricia's given us a hint. You can talk about COVID-19 as well. We'll cover many topics. She will also take personal questions. Oh. I know you love that, but please, towards the end, okay? Personal questions, I'll give you a warning when we're going to do personal questions. But please, can we get the first questions? And you can put in the chat where you're connecting from. Oh, the chat looks lively. All right, let's see. Ahmed. Thank you, Ahmed, for joining us. In Geneva, you're close to home. Hi, Sergio. Thank you for joining us from Medellin. I've never been there, but I've heard such beautiful things. I'm so jealous, Sergio. Don't send me a picture, I'll get upset. Ahmed, good to see you. In Sudan. Where in Sudan? What city? We like cities. Miami. Wow, we got somebody here from Miami. WH. And of course, Rodrigo from Valencia. All right, hello. Can we get some questions, please, in the Q&A button? Khartoum. Excellent. I think that's, who was it? Ahmed. Ahmed is connected from Khartoum. Thank you, Ahmed. All right, Ahmed, you're new here. Please use the Q&A button and let's put some questions to drive the conversation. Now, Patricia, you said there's a lot going on. So why don't we start? Brazil has been trending when it comes to COVID-19, this pandemic, for all the wrong reasons. And you've already expressed to us that you feel strongly about this. In what ways, I guess, in what ways is it affecting you personally, but also maybe the operations of your organization and your activities?
Great question. Thank you. So as I said, it's with great grief that I'm going to take this conversation on. But again, it's with a lot of hope so we can debate, discuss, and talk about issues. And I only believe that, by talking and sharing, that's the way that we can mourn in a good way. Well, in my organization, we have been working in a very, very critical space, which is our penitentiary, our prison system, our judiciary prison system. And this is exactly where the COVID is hitting badly people's life right now.
Okay, Patricia, if I may, I'm so sorry, just so they can follow us. I should have asked you, can you tell us what is Humanitas 360, just for everyone?
Okay.
Obviously,
Yes.
we know it's connected to being a humanitarian, but just tell us what it is, and then we'll shift back to the work.
Why don't I say that, I am a lawyer by education. And
Okay.
so that always drove me in a very intense and consistent way to search for social justice. But I haven't found, good ways to work on social justice in my field. As a matter of fact, we have very little social justice within the laws that we have. So I decided that I should do something else with my life, my passion, and with what I believe to be my call and my mission. So myself and Ricardo, my husband, along with Daniel, who was just recently born, we put together an organization, not because I knew how to do things, but because I needed to do in a different way. On the top of being sponsoring, supporting, fostering other organizations and social entrepreneurs, or better saying civic social entrepreneurs, I thought that in terms of prisoner system and the reform that I wanted to see, I need to do something else. And plus something else outside of the corporate world that we already operate. So we put together one organization that is, fostered, funded by our private capital. And what we do at Humanitas? First of all, we launched Humanitas in the US. Why? Because I wanted to experiment and experience the social and the philanthropic environment that they have over there, which is very institutional and with a lot of incentives for the ones who have not only the heart in philanthropy, but also the pockets and the mind. And probably in the future, I would be able to make good influence in my country when we come to be a more institutionalized philanthropic country. Therefore, we launched Humanitas in the US. But today I have a very strong arm of work here in Brazil. And what we do, we fight against inequality. How? We fight against inequality in 3 ways. Against violence, and pretty much against violence in women's life. Okay. We engage people to be more citizens. So we work with citizenship engagement. And also we work with transparency and governance, bringing to government more transparency and governance whenever they want to work with us. Okay. So in the beginning of the work, I came up with one thought. Well, since everyone, at least in my part of the world, says that we have a crisis in democracy, and I believe and I see that a good democracy precedes good quality of citizen engagement, we came up with producing some data, and we joined the Unit of Intelligence of The Economist magazine to produce the first ever done citizenship engagement index. We included 6 countries in the 2 hemispheres, beginning with North America as our, let's say, best case scenario at the moment, and worst case scenario in Latin America, Venezuela. And in between, 4 countries which were going through presidential elections. Why? Because I was foreseeing that within some years, I was going to go and do this index back again, and I wanted to measure improvement or not improvement at all with the new presidencies. So we did, and out of this data, we gather a lot of information and a lot of intelligence. And we came to understand that the level of disengagement in my country especially had to do with the lack of knowledge that people had within their system of laws or possibilities, or not possibilities at all. And we came to understand that probably the system that people had little or no knowledge at all, it was the prisoner judiciary system, because it's very closed, almost hermetically closed. And that's where you find the biggest, the largest, the hugest level of inequality. According to my
within the prison system.
Yes. According to my understanding as a lawyer, everyone should be equal, you know, facing the law. Yeah. And that's where you find that people are not equal at all because of their social, you know, upbringing, because of their color of the skin, most likely always, and because of the place that they were born, the zip code. And so we decided to work in this place.
Okay, I think this is a great chance to bring in a question from William, because I think you're already answering it. But just so you know, somebody really wants to hear it, if there's any detail you want to put in. So William says, Patricia, first and foremost, you are my idol. Oh my. Thank you for everything you do and inspire us. We love on Shape the World. Thank you for bringing the love here. Thank you. Now, William's question, can you tell us about how Humanitas 360 got involved with the incarceration front in Brazil? Thank you, William. So William is giving you permission. If you want to add some more details to the story you're telling, we are listening.
Because it's mostly the place where people are mostly unequal in the world. They become absolutely invisible. And the system, the way it is done, it is not put together to give people a second chance. And the system, the way it is done, is not put together to upbring reconciliation in our civil societies, but but really treating people in a way that you almost want to disintegrate their identity or the little identity that they have. And so we, by not understanding or by not knowing there's some details and particularities of the system, we come about very prejudiced. And we come with some thoughts, conclusions, and way of thinking that will just foster more prejudice and will just foster more racial injustice in our countries. That's why.
That's powerful, but that's also scary. So it seems like the prison system is exacerbating prejudice and division. Absolutely. And maybe not doing enough rehabilitation. Absolutely. Getting people, you know, ready to reintegrate in society. It's not doing enough of that.
No, it's not doing any enough of that. It's not doing at all any of that.
Okay, sorry, that's very sad. I was trying to be gentle, but that's really, really worrying. Okay, so that answers the question, and that's bang on why we need, you know, civil society to step in. So, but before you discovered this, from the story you're telling us, Humanitas 360 was already active. You were already doing other things. But now you've discovered this and you decided to take action on this front.
Exactly. Well, before we came up with the index, the Citizenship Engagement Index, we are already working. And the way that I believe that we learn things, it's by, you know, experience, explanations, and examples. So Humanitas was deep into the field working, and Humanitas was traveling throughout Latin America, and that's how I got to go to Medellin, you know, several times. That's how I got to go to places in Colombia that civilians have, you know, almost never got to go, and places in other countries in Latin America, and my personal but also institutional involvement with Venezuela and Venezuelans' humanitarian crisis. So Humanitas always has been deep into the field working until we discovered that there was one sector or one niche that would perpetrate in every Latin American society and North American society, problems that would be just the source of so many problems that we have outside in this world, which is our judiciary prisonal system. But, in parallel ways, we've been working, engaging citizens and giving them knowledge and information and data and bringing them every time more together to be really exercising the place that they have into their societies.
Powerful. Thank you. Okay, so I want you to please continue because we want to learn about what you're doing in the prison system. But I want to share Ahmad's question. So Ahmad, and congratulations, Ahmad. This is your first question on Shape the World. Big moment. We hope it's not your last. So thank you. Ahmad is asking, what are the key changes you're experiencing with your work before and during COVID-19? So that's Ahmad's question. But before you do answer it, what I'd love you to do is tell us what you started doing in the prisons. So how you wanted to intervene. And then now let's then answer Ahmad's question. How has COVID-19 affected what you started doing in prisons? Is that okay? And then for everybody else, please post more questions. She's ready to go and we're loving this. Thank you for the questions so far. Patricia, you have the mic.
Help me if at any point I get a little bit off track or lost, okay? Because I have to address the two questions. But
first question is, what did you start doing in prisons? What did you plan to do before COVID?
So as I said, as a lawyer, I didn't want just to go there and get people entertained. First of all, it's a difficult place to really get people entertained. And second of all, I believe that we have to, work in terms of bringing new ideas, data, and information to deal with the public policy. And if not possible to alter it, make it new. So we developed business units inside of the prisons. We came to understand that the level of recidivism is really high. Why? Because while you are there, you are not making anything with your life. You are just being, stacked one on the top of another and waiting. So maybe your physical body will rot or your mind will just, lose sense. So we decided that we need to give some sense for this time. After all, you are isolated from society contact. So why not foster this time to get emotional abilities and professional capabilities developed that you didn't have the opportunity to do before, just because life got too crazy, too fast, just because you got pregnant when you are 12 or 13 years old. And after that, you were kicked out of your house and your family, didn't want to have you anymore. You are engaged, we are in love with the traffic dealer. And this guy was just abusing you to be his mule, and you ended up in prison. So with that, track, very rarely somebody would be able to develop the abilities and competencies and actually use your brain the way that I was fortunate, privileged with the possibility to use. So we decided, why not give them a sense of being productive? Why not give them a sense of learning by doing or as they do something? So I spent with my team 6 months going to this particular prisoner unit once a week at least. Wow. And just going there and sitting with this group of sometimes 60, sometimes 80, sometimes 3 women to talk to me. And very often they would look at me and say, why is this blonde, long-haired woman don't go shopping? Why she's here every week, bothering us? And sometimes just staring at their face because they didn't want to talk to me. But I guess that resilience can sometimes beat resistance. And so they started talking to me. And as they talked to me, I came to understand that they were so isolated, but not physically isolated. They have been isolated their entire lives, isolated from the context that I was so much involved with, isolated from the possibility of having a good education, isolated from the possibility of having a warm hug, isolated from the possibility of having a trustful relationship.
Yeah.
So we decided to, talking and asking, what would you do with your life if, if it happens to leave tomorrow? They didn't know. But I knew that if I don't do something with them, if I don't develop something with them that would create some root, some relationships and some trustfulness and some faithfulness, why not?
Yeah.
They will just step out of prison to be inside of prison on the following day back again, because the organized crime factions would be there just to embrace them, to give them the hug that they want, to give them the food that they need, to give them the little safety that they were just hoping for, to use them again and making them mules to go back to prison anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we said, why not, we think of the situation of developing something for you to do here. And once you are out of here, you are going to be engaged on this business and it's going to be your business. And of course that they look at me and say, she's really a dreamer, if not a crazy woman. Back in the office, we started to draw and to design this business plan. And actually today it's a social cooperative that they have inside the prisoner unit that is working outside with the former inmates. And so whatever work or ability or skill that they develop inside, they are training to do that outside, as well as being trained to do all the managerial necessities that they need to deal with their own business. So chances are, and we still have to see that in the future, chances are that we will be able to beat the recidivism rate once they leave, knowing what they are going to do with their lives in the next minute of their freedom.
Amazing, amazing. And it's great that you have it such that if you're in prison, you can be connected to the system, but you also have people who, once they've left the prison, they're still part of the system. It's not like when they leave, they are now disconnected and they have to find, their feet. Now, what do they produce?
If I may just say one thing, and that is why I decided to do that with Humanitas. I was seeing a lot of people, get engaged with the inmates while they are in isolation, but I haven't seen yet any activity that was going to be productive, economically sane, and will be taken out once they leave prison. So this bridge, making this connection and offering them a path to go and walk through, that was, I thought, was being missed, and that's why I did it.
That is very powerful. If you can get a round of applause, I know it's virtual, you can't really hear the echo, but you can put your hands up, people, you can raise hands, and we'll see that too. Really beautiful. Now, what do they produce?
Well, then it really decides, it's up to them. Why we go there and we do all the listening. It's really to create some sort of trust among ourselves. And then we start to discuss what is going to be done. And this two-woman social cooperative, we developed handcrafts. They wanted to do embroidery, they wanted to sew, they wanted to do, and then we actually came up with a whole line of products that you can use at home. And also small, medium size, big size, little bags, completely embroidery with a very high quality of handwork. That they can, can be bought as a set or can be bought an only piece. And also tote bags, cushions. So it's a whole line of products that can be used in your room, in your bedroom, in your cloth tables, things like this. That's for now. But with the mayo, we developed organic garden. So we treated the soil, we give them all the skills with specialists, and we developed this huge garden with many products. and it was great.
Now, for what the women produce, is there a brand name for that?
Yes, every social cooperative has, their own name, because we have to register the cooperative in the National Association, which was already a big fight that we need to fight, because no one wants to have an inmate cooperative registered. We went to the court, we got it, and good to go. And so with the inmates, we have to register the cooperative. It's a real business, guys. I'm not, no
I
one
love
is
it.
around
I love it.
We have so we have it registered, and everyone has to have its own name. And we have the statute, so we have this bunch of agreements in terms of behavior, in terms of productiveness and everything. And then we put it all together inside of a big holding, named Teresa. And so Teresa is the holding company, and every social cooperative comes under Teresa. Why? Because Teresa also carries the market and strategic way of doing things. That would be just too costly for every and each cooperative to do it. Okay. And plus, let me rephrase it again. We are dealing with, the mindset of changing a public policy. So we have to have several models. We have to prove it works, and then we apply it to our authorities.
Brilliant. Now, I saw something called Very Teresa. That is one of the cooperatives?
Well, when we came to them and we decided together what was going to be the name of the holding of all cooperatives, we came with 100 names. We decided together, it was really several focus groups working inside and outside the prison, including officials, including prisoner guards, including the secretary of penitentiary administration. So we went at the very, very highest rank and the inmates and former inmates discussing the name, because we wanted that to be a movement and we want everyone to feel engaged. So Teresa has a special meaning. It's how in the old times, prisoners used to escape from their jails, because they would just get the bed sheets, not one to another, throw it through the window, and that's how they would make their hope and escape. So they decided Teresa, and they all laugh a lot, because we are going to re-signify this name, and that's what they processed thinking. It was not ours, and that is the beauty of it. We are making, people who are supposed to be rotten there to think again, and to think with some meaningful, subsidies and foundations. We want to re-signify the way that people used to escape to the way that we are going to leave this place to no longer be back. So
I
that's
love
the
it.
name of Teresa. And then they came up with another phrase at the bottom. It says, Teresa vale a pena, time worth paying.
Just powerful. Thank you so much. You're getting so many questions. People want you to zoom out and talk about the whole world. We're going to do that soon, but let's stay with this just a little bit more. Ahmed's question about COVID. So you're doing all of this and COVID happens. So if you can tell us in just a little bit, one way that COVID has affected your thinking about what you're doing.
Thank you for the question. Well, as I said, we are not there for the short run. We are there for the long run. So COVID came and we have to regroup as a team, Humanitas. And I'm very privileged to have that team, backing me up. And we regrouped with them and we said, what now? Because if we have to reinvent ourselves almost every day, because almost every day, there is one authority that would come on our necks and say, you no longer can do this. Now there is a pandemic, so it's not that, it's something that we know how to deal with, because with some of the old-fashioned closed-mind authorities, we already knew how to deal with them. But with the pandemic, it was something completely new. Yeah. We came together and said, all right, we cannot go and be with them anymore, but we can still send them some hygienic products that they lack. They don't have it there. So yeah. we can, by sending them products, we can keep our relationship and our trustfulness, ongoing, because they know that despite the fact that we are not there, we are here outside working for them. We enlarged our exposition in the social media, and I have been accepted more than I wanted public, talks, so we can record it all and at some time send it to them, so they know that we are working in different ways and in many fronts to advocate that we need to change this situation. But more thoroughly, we went back to our partners, national partners, the Justice National Council, whose head is the same head of the Supreme Court in Brazil. With that organization, we have an agreement. And so we went back to them and said, under your perspective, what can we do together more, the extra mile we can do together to make sure that this population is not going to be absolutely deprived? And so we came with the idea that if they cannot see their families because the time for visit was, forbidden, and if they cannot see their families, why not to organize in a technological way, a way that they can see their families through the screen. And so Humanitas jumped into this idea to organize with them all the regulation and how it can be done, because we have to always preserve the privacy of both ends. But also we want to use that to bring up more data. So how to preserve the privacy and have data, so data can be used to emphasize the need of technology inside the unit prisons. Humanitas donated 1 computer for each prison unit, and in the total of 55 for that particular state. And they developed the program. So we have from morning to end of the day visits, and that's been called virtual visits. And so families were trained and prisoners were trained to use the screen in a productive, effective, familiar way. And so they can see their beloved ones. And with that, the beauty of this idea on the top of promoting this family contact is to protect the life of the prison guards, because the level of anxiety had been so high, and the risk of riots and the risk of rebellions inside were absolutely 100%. So with that, family contact could just lower the level of anxiety and could, improve or enable the work of the prison guards. So also the public servants were very, very glad with this intervention. It was very, very powerful.
That's the word I was going to use. It's so powerful. Really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And it comes back to your message that people, just because they're in prison doesn't mean they should be forgotten. Right? And I love that. So they're having virtual visits. I think that's an international best practice. I'm sure someone else is doing it too, but I don't think, I think it needs to be spread more. That is really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, questions are coming in, so I'll ask you the next question. But in the meantime, Ahmed wants to share some love. He says, Patricia, good luck for what you are doing and best wishes. Mike, he says that he's here in Sudan and we are suffering from inequality in every part of our lives. So we need organizations like yours in my country. So Ahmed doesn't have a question, but he was just sending you some love. Thank you, Ahmed. Okay, now Sergio, I think from Medellin, has a question. He says to serve and help our community is a must, but sometimes the community sees the help as a matter of politics or some economic program. How can we drive a better message to others that we are a society and that we have to help ourselves without any reward, but just for a better society to live in? Thank you, Sergio. Great first question.
Well, in the long term, Sergio, and thank you for your question. It's great to have you here. In the long term, a need for a cultural change, it's going to be necessary. So we need to address this sort of prejudice in a way that we have to create movements to change our culture and to change our way of thinking, which is more putting people away than trying and experimenting what they are doing. And I think that in our parts of the world, we are so poisoned by either political correctness or lack of political leadership. And so we see everything in a way that is poisoned. In the short term, I believe that philanthropists, people who want to make greater good, have to put themselves in places that they haven't put themselves before. By saying that, I'm saying that we need to leave the high castles that we live and get ourselves in the field. Try, listen to everything that people has to say to you, because sometimes we were the responsible ones to raise this sort of thoughts and prejudice because we have never put ourselves in the line. We have never tried to feel the suffering, the hardships that people are suffering. And so we think that maybe just, writing a check will be sufficient to sort out the problem. So I think that, having the possibilities and having the privileges and having all the opportunities that we have in life, I had in life, it is more than time that I put myself in up front and I listen to whatever discomfort I have to listen, and be sure that by being there, people sooner or later will accept it. People sooner or later will start to seeing you in a different way. People sooner or later will see that you do have a public agenda, that you are not just there because your agenda or because your party agenda or because of your corporation that you might represent. You are there because you are there. At the end of the day, this is philanthropy. And this is the kind of philanthropy that everyone could, must, and should practice. It's just exposing yourself. There is no other way.
Powerful. Thank you, Patricia. And thank you for that question, Sergio. So there's much you can do, and philanthropy is definitely a path to help you intervene without the whole lens of politics or economic programs. So thank you. Now, I think we can use that to segue to Paula's question. So Paula says, Patricia, your family has a great history in philanthropy, with philanthropy in Brazil. How do you see philanthropy? What's the scenario like in Brazil today? That today was my addition. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Paula. Yes, that's true. Let me just tell you a little anecdote. When I was born, for some reason, Mama and Daddy decided that I was going to celebrate my birthdays in an orphanage with 300 boys. And so they have exposed me to the way that they saw philanthropy at very, very early age.
Wow, that is unique.
Yeah, that was unique. That was unique and that is unique.
I've never heard that before.
So at that point, I was just the cherry of the cake. The little doll that was, completely, absolutely well-dressed and going to an orphanage to offer to these, very poor, the poorest of the poor boys, some entertainment for that day. And as I was growing up, I had to face a lot of discomfort. I had to face a lot of doubts and questions. And why me, if everyone else in this day is receiving, and in this day I shall be giving? And so why am imparting the most, celebratory day of my life with people that I don't know, and with people that, are so completely, totally different from me, gender-wise, color-wise, social background-wise. But I knew that I was not going to be able to put my mom off her mind. So I just decided to engage. And I decided to make out of this day my offering. And that became the most powerful, the most important, and the most transformational day of my life. And I'm saying that because I I believe that that's the way we should do with our daughters, sons, nieces, nephews, and whoever you can, perform some influence on life.
Excellent.
That has really connected me with disparity. And it was just lately that I could make that connection. I had to say that, I think during some years, pretty much during my teenager times, I didn't like it. I felt really awkward until I decided that I was going to, be the one that was going to take that day and make out of that day something really meaningful. That's when I started to recruit friends and rest of the family, not only to serve the cake of my birthday cake, but really to go to the kitchen and do the food and serve them. And I started to get to know them, and by getting to know them, listening to the little thoughts or to the little things that they have to tell to me. Well, that became my philanthropic experience that I could really elaborate more later in life. So that's how I think that we should do philanthropy. I think that we should do philanthropy with the tools that you have on your hand, not necessarily with your bank account. If you have a bank account, you must. But if you don't, please do not stop yourself to feel and to discover, to have revealed a call for your life, to be a philanthropist, to be, a donor of your time, your intellectual capital, to give a donor of a space in your emotions, to be a donor of your ears, to listen to people. And so that's how I've been, doing philanthropy. And with the grace and honor to have my team with me, we have been systematized the way that I like to do philanthropy into a more methodological way that will be sustainable, and we will be able to prove that it is the way going. But the way that is being done today, it's basically signing checks. In the countries that you have fiscal incentives, the checks are much fatter and powerful. In countries that you don't have, like mine, not incentives at all, it's actually you have to pay tax on the top of your donations. Then maybe the checks will be lesser powerful. But I don't think that the check will just solve the problem, because really philanthropy, it's love for humanity. And how do you show your love for humanity if it's not making yourself human?
Love it. So everybody can be philanthropic. You've connected it back to your previous comments about coming down from the high castle, getting involved. Don't just serve the cake, actually be in the kitchen. And I love the story. That's going to stay with me now, about your parents celebrating your birthday that way. That's really powerful. Okay, again, so many good questions here. I think maybe we can take, let's take Williams. So Williams is asking you, if you could send a message to the young generation out that, assuming they could all hear you, what could you tell them to inspire or connect them to the humanitarian field? Thank you, William. Good question, but big question.
Big question.
And Patricia, you will, of course, before we finish, you will have closing remarks. So if you want, you can also save your answer for them. But if you have an answer now, we'll take it.
I would highly recommend and get involved. Definitely get involved, but get involved in ways of, getting your body sweat, getting your boots worn out, and getting really, really involved. And after you get involved, just put yourself in their place and try to be a less prejudiced generation. My generation was brought up to, study hard, do an MBA, go to Wall Street, make lots of money, have a private jet, second, third houses, and accumulate,
Yeah.
because you are what your business card said you are. I believe in the next generation, and I do that because I've got so much involved with them during my time as board member for the Global Shapers. I believe in a new generation that is going to be value-driven, that is going to be, and by saying value-driven, that's going to be more tolerant without being over-tolerant. Tolerant with the mistakes of others, but not over-tolerant by being extremely political correctness.
Excellent.
I believe that tolerance, and it's not complacency. So we are going to get to a point that we will understand that we shall love the sinner and hate and abominate the sin. So what people make does not define what they are necessarily, especially if you come from poverty, especially if you didn't have the chance to go to a good school, especially if you didn't have a family, parents that will offer you experience, explanations, and possibilities in a safe way for you to expose yourself. So hating the sin and loving the sinner, that's how we're gonna make the difference in this world. I truly believe in the rule of law, but I believe more that we are going to have a new generation that is going to make sense of this law. In a generation that will look to social justice and less to the justice that will punish people for the rest of their lives. I have made many mistakes, but just because of my whiteness, just because of my social, background and my intellectual upbringing, I am not going to be punished like somebody that doesn't have my whiteness, but on the contrary, is a Black person. So I believe in a generation that is not going to be no racist, but is going to be anti-racist in every way.
Very powerful. Thank you so much, Patricia. You can see I was quiet because I just wanted us to capture what you were saying. Very profound. Great questions from the audience. You're really pulling us in different directions. All right, so you can keep the questions coming. I think this is Ahmed asking, Patricia, can I join you? Yes,
Please
you can.
do. Please
and the
do.
proof is in your actions.
With the new virtual world, I mean, doesn't really care where you are. We shall be connected. Why not?
Yes, and the proof is in your actions, Ahmed. So there are many great questions here. I think we'll take a few more. Maybe the last one related to what you've said so far will be from Douglas. Then we'll zoom out. Okay, so everybody, this is Shape the World. You're in the right place. We have a wonderful guest, a humanitarian, Patricia Villela Marino, president of Humanitas 360. Please post some questions. This is Shape the World. It is not a webinar. We need your questions. Q&A button. But the next field is we want to zoom away now from the work she's doing to her view on things happening around the world, okay? Now, I want to take one last question related to her work from Douglas. So Douglas is saying, thank you, Patricia. It's always inspiring hearing from you. As an NGO president and a leader of civic entrepreneurship movement, I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts and vision about our system in a social and investing perspective? We're still far from the ideal, but the discussion about impact investing, social business system, philanthropy, socially responsible investing, all of that has increased nowadays. Now, how do you see it working in a systemic way? So that's Douglas.
Up to now, I don't see that working in a systemic way, just because we have so many people that are not included in this system. So I cannot call it system or a system that is broken. We need a system that is more inclusive, and we need a system that includes in our country, in my country, our Afro-Brazilians. The economic system has not included the Afro-Brazilians. And if we have few of them that were included in the educational system, it was thankful for some public policies that were put in place years ago that offered the opportunity for them to go to school and go to their degrees and master degrees and PhDs. But other than these protective, public policies in place, we wouldn't have Afro-Brazilians included. So we still need now to include them in the economic system. And so I am really working to develop at Civico. Civico is this physical and now more virtual platform of inclusiveness, of civic-social entrepreneurs. I have this place in Sao Paulo, which is a 4-story building where we are, gathering creative, courageous, very disruptive civic social entrepreneurs to make together out of this space, virtual and physical space, a community of brave people who are developing and addressing the hardships of our society. And at Civico, we are developing right now an inclusive capital initiative, exactly to foster opportunities for Afro-Brazilian descendants who are struggling to get into the economic world and struggling to get some financial capital to vamp with their initiatives to be there. So it's been another fight to fight, and it's been, but absolutely necessary in the country right now.
Thank you so much. Great questions. Is it, I think, fair to say that you love your country, Brazil?
No, that's the real truth of the matter.
Because, I mean, you're fighting, and I think that love is driving you to fight for your country. But I would love to give you, I don't know, just a few space, like a small space to tell us about your love for Brazil.
I don't believe that we are mushrooms in this earth, in this world. If I was born here, that's got to be a cause. That's got to be a purpose. And I am, I'm going to be 50, and since I was born, I believe I am trying to figure out what's my purpose in life. And being here, I believe that has absolutely to do with my purpose. And I believe in true love, which means that sometimes you fight for it and sometimes you just indulge yourself with it. And lately I have not been able to indulge myself much, but fighting almost every day. And not because I'm any special or stronger than anyone else, just because I believe and I have this awareness that I have some tools, and if I don't use these tools, they will rot, they will fail. And so I must use these tools, and the tools that I have shall be tools to empower and to leverage other people's life. I love my country. I was born here. I was married here. I lived abroad, and we decided to come back because, at that time we believed that it was our time to give back to our society. And today we believe that it's time to give up from our privileges so more people will be welcome to enjoy the place that we are and the privileges that we have been able to, share. And so, yes, I love my country. I see so much potential in my people. I see so much potential in this land with all the diversity that we have in nature. And I see possibilities to develop new things, to bring about innovation, and that all needs time, needs devotion, needs dedication, and to make it happen. Right now we are about to legalize the use of medical marijuana in this country. And that has been a fight that I've been participated from the beginning. But the beauty of it, it's because more people are going to be able to be treated and less people are going to jail because of trafficking accusations, just because they are cultivating something that I believe it was just part of Mother Nature when God created the world and has been corrupted by human beings. So it is time for us to criticize ourselves in the ways that we are dealing with gifts that we have received. The greatest of all, life. And with life, all the nature that we have received. And this is not an easy time for the world, but it's not definitely an easy time for my country, but a time of an opportunity. Time for us to share what we have created and what we have, accumulated, and with others that have not the chance to.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask everyone, because of technical difficulties, we started late. So if it's okay to stay together, maybe another 15 minutes. I hope that's okay, Patricia. We'll try and watch the time. I know you have other engagements. But just to capture, I just love your energy there. You're oozing love. And you also remind me of one of my personal mantras. I'm going to share it publicly for the first time. I have this secret mantra: don't mind your own business. And when I listen to what you're fighting for, you're not minding your own business at all. There's so many things you're involved in that, I mean, you could be shopping, right? You could be doing lots of other things, but you're fighting on stuff that isn't your business, but you've made it your business. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I just love that. Thank you. So yeah, that's one of my personal mantras, people. Don't mind your own business. We need people who don't mind their own business.
I like it.
Thank you. All right, so we're still zooming out. I'll ask some of the questions in the chat. We can see that Patricia doesn't mind her business. So they have some questions for you that are kind of zoomed out. Then we're going to zoom in and we'll take some reasonable personal questions. Is that okay, everybody? All right, so this is the zoom out phase. Mr. Salami, you get the first question. Is that Mr. or Mrs. Salami from London? There is a lot of violence in some African countries related to tribal and ethnic issues. The world organizations like the UN, they look the other way as if they're not aware. And why do they always wait until the situation gets to the worst point before they now call for a ceasefire and peace talks, when they could have moved beforehand? Again, she doesn't work for the UN, but hey, she also doesn't mind her own business. So any thoughts you have on why they always wait for the last moment when they could have acted earlier?
Well, we have to understand that, sometimes big organizations, they have, several agendas that they have to comply with. And that's why I believe in the power of the civil society. And that's why I believe in the strength of sharing, and that other organizations can come into place and help where some big other organizations cannot, and maybe produce evidence. And so this evidence will be so clear and will be so, loudly speaking that everyone else will understand it. The little I know from Africa, and I say little because I'm not an expert, and from what I have visited, and from all the documentaries that I search for, and I love to see that, from genocides to devastation of nature, there was always some figure, some one people or a small group of people who were responsible to bring the atrocities into light.
Yeah.
And after that, the light was shining so gratefully that no one else could close their eyes. So I believe in that. I believe that, you know, faithful people will put themselves in the line, in front, and be frontliners to expose the problems that we live. The problems that Africa and many countries in Africa live are very much the same problems that we live here in Brazil, believe it or not. And I have seen people stepping to the front and putting their lives at risk. And some of them, they have lost actually their lives, but they have fulfilled the purpose of their lives, maybe. That's what I believe. By doing that, they have exposed the shame. By doing that, they have exposed the silence. By doing that, they have exposed the corruption. By doing that, they have exposed the worst things that we have as human beings, and we all have it. And they have shined light into darkness. That's how I believe we should do. Mind
Beautiful.
People's business.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. I love that. So really the power of, if you like, civil society, the power of what we can do when we get organized. This is also a nice transition to Shauna's question. So Shauna says, you've mentioned working with governments directly that are willing to work with Humanitas 360. Regarding your own work on transparency, what is Humanitas 360's level of engagement with the UN or UN mechanisms like the Human Rights Council? Would you find that kind of engagement at that level useful, or do you find your direct work with governments more effective? So, yeah, working in a multilateral setting or direct with government, what do you think?
I would engage and accept in whatever kind of engagement that I see as licit, that I see as transparent. Right now, I don't have it. I'm really dedicated and you know, busy to create this ground platform. Let me mention that way I believe to do the work and to do my philanthropic work is in a very grassroots level. Yes. And so once this grassroots level it's well paved, maybe, you know, other kinds of engagement will do, because I don't want to have a good speech, but I would rather to have a good experience in terms of meaningful experience and really impactful experience. And maybe that will come along with some sort of argument, but less of a good speech.
Fantastic. By the way, you got some love in the feed a few minutes ago. Sergio said she is really great. What an amazing message. Sergio, we know and we agree. Thank you, Sergio. William said what a powerful answer to his question. Thank you. Mr. Salami said another way to define philanthropy was one of the answers you gave. So thank you for the love, people. All right. I think that we're now going to transition to some personal questions. Reasonable personal questions. I'm choosing them. So please put them in. And if I like them, I'll take them. If I don't like them, I'm not taking it. Okay. So she loves to mentor. So she can answer reasonable personal questions. Now, while your questions are coming in the feed, use the Q&A button. We also want to share with you something that we are doing in gratitude for the blessings that we have. It's something called Goodwill Vows. It's connected to this idea that everybody can be philanthropic, but that's just a curtain raiser. So I'd love to invite my colleague, who's also Brazilian, by chance, Rodrigo Nunes, to please tell us a bit more about Goodwill Vows. Rodrigo, are you ready? And are you ready, Rodrigo?
Yes.
Do you have all the permissions you need?
Yeah, let's see right now. I believe so. Yes.
All right, while Rodrigo is going live, I'd love to see some personal questions from the Shape the World audience. Use the Q&A button. Patricia will take personal questions shortly. So please post them in the feed. Thank you. Rodrigo, you have the mic.
Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so thank you, Yemi. As most of people who are here, they are long time Shape the Worlders with us. They have heard about Goodwill Vows. It's a new initiative by UPG, joined with Junior Achievement Global. in order to change the way philanthropy exists in the world. Usually we think about philanthropy, we think about very wealthy people, but we want to give a change and bring it to our daily basis. So anyone, anywhere in the world, any organization, any person can be able to do philanthropy, can be able to help other organizations. So that's why we created Goodwill Vows. And basically it's a platform where you can make a vow, you can make a promise of a donation to any organization in the world, any non-profit organization in the world, and we will be registering those vows. As you can check when you go in vows, we will be publicly registering that and give you a badge about the status of your vow. So for example, we have here Lucas. Lucas vowed, just check. Lucas vowed in July that he will give 20 reais to AMA institution every month until the end of 2021. So this is an organization in Brazil. We have the current status from him, and we'll be following up with him if he's doing those donations. And once it's complete, he'll get a new badge said vow honored that can be shared with anyone who wants to. If he has a company, he can make it in the company name and can share it for public relations, for example. But the main idea is that you can make a vow of any value, of any amount to any organization in the world. And you also, being an organization, you can register for free as a beneficiary to be receiving vows from your community or from your network. So you can be here, your name will be here as an organization, as a beneficiary organization, and will be available also on the vow form. So people can, in just 3 to 5 minutes, make their vow to you and help you to get a forecast of future donations. This is the main idea. Yemi, I don't want to be taking too much time. I will be posting the Goodwill Vows page here in the chat, and we are using the beta version. So for the people who are accessing it and making their vows, they need to insert a password that is currently share the word. I'll be sharing also, but I invite you all to go on to check. What was the password? Share the love, sorry. Share the love. Not share that. And also visit the media center. We have some really great videos in there, inviting people to make vows, but also the videos from our global launch and Shape the Future.
All right, thank you so much, Rodrigo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So just 2 things I want to highlight. One of them is we believe anybody can make a vow, because your vow could be dependent on time, but it could also be dependent on something good that happens to you. So for example, you say, hey, if I get that big contract, I vow to give $1,000 to an orphanage. If you don't get the contract, it's okay. All right? But if you do, hey, you can honor that vow because of something good that happened to you. Now, of course, as Patricia would advise you, you shouldn't just give $1,000 to the orphanage. You should actually go there, maybe wrap the present to yourself, and get to spend some time with them. And I agree with Patricia. I would say though that what we're doing also helps to democratize philanthropy, because many people think they have to wait until their bank balance is big before they can be generous. And you don't have to wait. As a small child, you can say, hey, if I get into the school I want, I will give, I don't know, something to an organization. Everybody can be generous. So that's something I want to highlight. The second thing I want to highlight is UPG does not touch any money that you vow. Zero. It doesn't pass through us, nothing. We just curate the space to encourage more people to make vows. When it's time to honor your vow, your money goes directly to the organization. All right? So we're just trying to help make it happen. All right, so that's 2 things I want to highlight. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, and the Goodwill Vows team. Awesome work. First time I saw the vow page, the one you showed there. So beautiful work. Patricia, I saw your hand. You wanted to share something?
I do. I just want to thank you and your team because making philanthropy the way that you are developing in people's heart and mind two very, very important values: accountability and commitment. Philanthropy cannot be done without people being accountable to what they committed. So that's how we do philanthropy. Otherwise, we don't do philanthropy. We can do your personal charity. But in order to do philanthropy, we have to be accountable and we have to be committed with some people, somebody, some organization, and most of all with a cause that will, be worth to do.
Love it. I was quiet so that they could capture you without any interruption. Team, was that good? You can capture her video? I think that was awesome. Rodrigo, Adana, we good?
Yeah, it's on tape.
We don't need to make her repeat it, right? Mwah. Thank you, Patricia. All right, personal questions. The floor is open. Please be reasonable. She's taking personal. I see some here already. All right. There's some really quick ones here by somebody called Anonymous Attendee.
Oh, wow.
Normally, I'm scared of anonymous people. What?
I'm going to be grilled now.
I know, but normally I'm scared of anonymous people, but you seem to have some interesting questions here. So, Aspen or Sao Paulo? Did you live in Aspen before?
No, but I go there very often.
Okay, so Aspen or Sao Paulo? There's a smiley here. So which one?
Sao Paulo. I have
Sao
more problems
Paulo.
to fight for here.
Can you just say that again? Because I think I interrupted you.
I have more problems to fight for here than there.
Beautiful, thank you. Biden or Trump?
Absolutely Biden. Well, actually, his VP, it really captured my heart.
Yeah, Kamala Harris, right? Beautiful. Douglas has asked, and Douglas snuck this question in a long time ago, but this is the space for it. What are you doing to take care of your personal mental health during this period? I think that's a fair question since you're doing so much fighting.
I'm a very faithful person. Don't consider myself to be religious, but I'm faithful. And I love to pray. And in my prayer time, that's when I really can get relaxed and I can feel that my heartbeat goes lower than usually it is. So yeah, that's how I keep my mental balance.
I love it. Pray. Nobody has said that ever on Shape the World. That's a first. Thank you. I love it. Sarah is asking, lovely personal questions, people. Please keep them coming. Sarah is asking, what inspires you in life as a woman? Interesting.
Well, woman nature really inspires me so much. The fact that God has created us with, so many possibilities and capabilities of being multitask without lowering the level of quality of our tasks at the same time. Because one thing is being multitask, lowering the level of, whatever you're developing, but keeping that high at the same time, I think it's beautiful. So being a woman is really a privilege.
All right, great. And I think this is Ahmed in Sudan who's saying, do you have any children with this difficult hard work?
I have one child. I was blessed to have only one child. It was very difficult for me to be a mother. Motherhood, it was something that I need really to fight for many years. And I was blessed with Daniel. And when in 2012, I was already married a number of years before he came. So he came really to add love and to my life. So Daniel today is 8 and he's been my partner. He's been with me at the penitentiary. Actually, he has celebrated his birthday there. So I've been even more grassroots than my parents were.
Amazing. Great stuff. All right, William knows about Daniel. He also knows about Ricardo. So he says Ricardo and Daniel in one word, or one sentence?
My blessings, my breath every day.
Beautiful, really beautiful. Thank you so much. I think that has been just an amazing time together. As I promised you, you will have the last word. So I will ask you if there's anything you want to leave the audience with. Shape the World audience, in the meantime, do you have any final questions before we let Patricia go? If you do, this is the time to ask them, or hold your peace. Don't complain to me that you didn't get your question asked. So if you have the final question, you can post it now. Otherwise, we will let Patricia go. Thank you so much for being here, and I've loved the conversation. Okay, Patricia, are you ready to leave us with something? Your final thoughts for anyone who watches this, and most people will watch this after we publish it. So any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
I believe that human beings are absolutely relational beings, but we have, diminished this quality of ourselves in order to be transactional beings. We've been transacting because of money and because of social status, because of, agendas that are not public. I would really encourage myself to start with, and you who are listening, to be more relational and to really develop, elaborate your relationships. That's how we are actually exercising the most beautiful, talents and gifts that we were given with. That's how we can listen and we can process, and we can sometimes stop before saying something that will hurt, or we can just say because that will bring truth. Nowadays, truth has been neglected to political correctness. So I would encourage everyone to exercise to be more truthful with love. Because if we exercise truthfulness with love, we can heal situations. But if we are only abrupt, we'll just disrupt even more situations. So I'm just very thankful to be here, to be able to share these thoughts, which I know sometimes for somebody may sound very vague, but at the end of the day, we are talking about values, we are talking about examples. And if there is any other way to learn, a better way is by example. So I learn from examples, and I hope to be a little bit of some kind of example to my son, and maybe sharing with you. I can maybe afterwards learn from you and listen from you, and you can be an example for me. I don't know exactly what and how, if what I'm doing, it's going to be fruitful, but I believe in what I'm doing. And I believe that other people are going to join and help. And if not, to change the prison or judiciary system of my country, and I dream big, maybe I can do a good influence to change other countries' system. I can at least to be able to develop some good, trustful relationships with people that otherwise I wouldn't be able to, just because society keeps us so far apart. And just because we have some people that, coming from an undercaste, class. And if we don't make an effort, and if we don't struggle to bring it together, it's not going to happen. So keep struggling. I think it's the fight worth to fight.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's so much wisdom in what you've shared, and I'm just going to encourage everybody to play that back and listen to it. And my experience tells me, if you listen to it on Monday, you hear something different when you listen to it on Wednesday. You hear something different when you listen to it on Friday. Because again, the points you've made, Patricia, they relate to so many different scenarios. So I think it's really powerful. Thank you for that message. Thank you for your for your time. Thank you for your fighting. Thank you for your example, because example is so powerful, more powerful than words. Thank you also for your humility. In almost everything you're doing, you carry a mirror with you, and you're almost always starting with yourself, almost always saying, what can I do? And so I am inspired. I hope everyone who's here is inspired too, and anyone who watches this after is inspired. Today is World Humanitarian Day, and we've been live with Patricia Villela Marino, who is a humanitarian, who reminds us that everybody can do something to make the world better. Thank you so much. I wish you all a great day. Let's continue to shape the world. Stay blessed, everyone. Thank you, Patricia, and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you.